I slammed the invitation into the trash can outside the country club, the gold-embossed cardstock crumpling like my marriage vows under the tires of a passing Escalade. Because who the hell needs a family celebration when your own blood has branded you the villain in their twisted little fairy tale? But as the rain pelted my windshield like accusations I couldn't outrun, I realized that showing up uninvited wasn't just revenge, it was the only way to drag their skeletons into the light, even if it meant burning the whole damn house down with me inside. And when that door swung open on her 50th birthday, with me standing there like the ghost they thought they'd buried, the scream that ripped from her throat wasn't fear. It was the sound of a queen realizing her throne was built on my bones. The drive to Willow Creek Country Club that evening felt like threading a needle through the eye of a storm. I traded my usual Levi's for a charcoal suit that hung loose on my frame, 30 pounds lighter since the divorce papers hit. Courtesy of too many nights staring at the ceiling, replaying every lie like a bad country ballad on repeat. Nashville's sprawl blurred past the windows of my beat-up Ford F-150, strip malls giving way to manicured lawns. The kind where the grass is greener because it's laced with Roundup and resentment. It was the heart of Tennessee's summer, humid as a jilted lover's breath. But the AC in my truck had given up months ago, right around the time Elena decided our 10 years meant nothing next to her mother's silver spoon. Elena, my ex-wife. The woman who'd whispered forever in the glow of fireflies on our wedding night at the Smoky Mountains overlook, only to etch fraud into my life story when the feds came knocking. I gripped the wheel tighter, knuckles whitening against the cracked leather. It wasn't just the betrayal that gnawed at me, it was how she'd flipped the script so seamlessly, turning me from the devoted husband into the fall guy for her family's dirty empire. Real estate development, they called it. Laundering cartel cash through foreclosed McMansions. That's what it really was. And me, I'd signed the papers blind, thinking I was building our future. Took the plea deal when the IRS raided our home. Did 18 months in a federal pen upstate, emerging with a felony record and a tattoo of regret on my soul. Marley Hayes, architect turned inmate, now scraping by as a freelance draftsman in a one-bedroom over a vape shop in East Nashville. That's the man, Elena's mother. Victoria Langford, Vicky to her junior league cronies, had ensured the world saw. Tonight was her 50th, a milestone she'd planned with the precision of a military op. Black tie affair, string quartet, caterers from Atlanta slinging crab cakes and Chardonnay. The invitation had arrived 2 weeks ago, slipped under my door like a taunt. Regrets only, it read, in her looping script, as if I hadn't already been erased from the family photo album. I parked in the overflow lot, the gravel crunching under my tires like bones under boot heels. The club loomed ahead, all white columns and ivy, a Southern Gothic wet dream for old money hiding new sins. Security was light. Vicky's influence ran deeper than the Cumberland River, but I flashed a forged +1 badge at the valet, heart pounding like a bass line in a honky-tonk. Inside, the air was cool and cloying with gardenias, laughter echoing off marble floors. I spotted them immediately. Elena in a sheath dress the color of fresh cream, her auburn hair piled high, laughing at something her new beau, some Vanderbilt trust fund prick named Harlan, whispered in her ear. Vicky held court at the head of the table, resplendent in emerald silk, her diamonds catching the light like warning flares. No seat for me, of course. My nameplate was absent, a deliberate void between Elena's cousin and some distant uncle. I hovered in the shadows near the bar, nursing a bourbon neat, the burn steadying my nerves. This wasn't about crashing a party, it was excavation. I'd spent the last year piecing together the truth from prison yard whispers and late-night subpoenas I'd filed pro bono. The secret Vicky had buried wasn't just the money trail, it was the body count. 2 years before our wedding, her prize development project in Chattanooga had disappeared, a local activist who'd blocked the permits. Union organizer named Tomas Ruiz. Found floating in the Tennessee River with a brick for an anchor. Official story, drowning accident. But I'd uncovered the emails, the payoffs to the coroner, the way Elena had been there that night, young and ambitious, holding the flashlight while Vicky called the shots. And me, I'd inherited the fallout without knowing. When the feds traced the funds back to Langford Properties, Vicky pinned it on a rogue employee, me. The outsider she'd welcomed with open arms and a fat signing bonus. Elena testified against me in exchange for immunity, her eyes averted as she detailed how I'd manipulated the books.
Lies.
All of it. But the jury bought the narrative, the charming Southern belle and her doting mama versus the Yankee transplant with a chip on his shoulder. Guilty on 3 counts of wire fraud. 2 years served. The rest on probation. Vicky's empire? Untouched. Expanded even. With Harlan's daddy's connections greasing the wheels. The quartet struck up Moon River, and Vicky rose for her toast. Glass aloft. To family, she purred. Voice like honey over gravel. The ones who stand by you. Through thick and thin. Elena clinked her flute against Harlan's. Her smile brittle as spun glass. I could see the fracture lines from across the room. The way her fingers trembled. The quick glance toward the door, as if expecting a ghost. She knew I was out. We'd exchanged one email post-release. Move on. Marley. For both our sakes. As if absolution came in Arial font. I waited until the cake was wheeled out. 5 tiers of fondant decadence. Sparklers hissing like vipers before making my move. The unexpected someone? That was me. Stepping from the alcove like a shadow detaching from the wall. Conversations stuttered to halt as heads turned. Vicky's fork clattered against porcelain. Elena's face drained of color. Her lips parting in a silent M. Harlan straightened, all faux chivalry, murmuring, "Who the hell invited the ex-con?" Vicky recovered first. Her smile a scalpel. "Marley? Darling." "What a
surprise."
Security, but her voice cracked on the last word, and in that fissure, I saw it, the fear she'd buried deeper than Tomas Ruiz. I raised my glass, the bourbon sloshing like liquid courage. Happy birthday,
Victoria.
Thought I'd bring a gift. The truth, wrapped in federal exhibit stamps. Gasps rippled through the table like wind through magnolias. Elena bolted up, chair scraping. Marley?
Please.
Not here. But here was exactly where it needed to be. I pulled the envelope from my jacket, yellowed affidavits. Redacted DA files I'd obtained through a sympathetic paralegal in Knoxville. You remember Tomas, don't you? The man who drowned so your condos could rise. Vicky's eyes narrowed to slits. But she didn't flinch. Not yet. Delusional fantasies from a man who couldn't hack it, she said coolly, signaling the maitre d'. 2 burly types in ill-fitting tuxes materialized, but I held my ground. Ask your daughter. She was there, holding the light while you weighted the bag. The room exploded into murmurs. Forks abandoned, phones discreetly angled for the drama. Harlan puffed up, stepping forward. You need to leave, buddy. Before I make you. I met his gaze, the bourbon fueling a grin I hadn't worn since the pen. Try it, frat boy. I've got nothing left to lose. Elena grabbed my arm, nails digging in like claws.
Stop this.
You're ruining everything. Her whisper was hot against my ear, laced with the perfume we'd picked out together in that cramped Soho boutique. Everything you helped build, I shot back, low enough for only her. By taking the fall for your mommy's mess. Vicky stood then, all 5'4" of imperious fury, her voice slicing through the din. Enough. This man is unstable. He's served his time for crimes against my family, lies layered on lies. But the guests bought it, old money closing ranks like storm shutters before a twister. The security guys closed in, one gripping my shoulder with fingers like vice grips. I shrugged him off, tossing the envelope onto the table. It skidded across the linen, scattering photos, grainy shots of the riverbank. Elena's silhouette blurred but unmistakable. Read it,
Vicky.
or should I say, reread it? Immunity doesn't erase guilt. As they hauled me toward the exit, Elena's eyes locked on mine, pleading, then hardening into something feral. You always were too soft, Marley. This won't bring him back. Him. Tomas.
Or us.
The door loomed, rain lashing the glass like judgment. But I'd planted the seed. The first crack in their perfect facade. Outside, under the portico, I lit a cigarette with shaking hands, the cherry glowing like a promise. Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a slow bleed. And tonight, I'd nicked the artery. The fallout hit like a nor'easter the next morning. My phone buzzed off the nightstand at 6 a.m., Elena's number flashing like a warning light. I let it go to voicemail, rolling over to the window where the Nashville skyline smudged the dawn. Voicemails piled up. Her. Frantic. Vicky's lawyer. Threatening. Harlan. Blustering about trespassing charges. By noon, the local news had it, page 6 Nashville style. Ex-husband crashes Langford bash. Hurls wild accusations. No mentions of Tomas. Of course. The family spin machine was in overdrive, painting me as the bitter parole violator crashing the pity party. But I wasn't done. Over stale coffee at a diner off I-40, I met with my contact, Lila, the PI who'd gone pro bono after her own run-in with Langford Properties. Ex-cop. Tattoos snaking up her arms like barbed wire. She slid a manila folder across the formica. You stirred the hornet's nest.
Hayes.
Got chatter from the DA's cold case unit. Ruiz files being dusted off. Her eyes,
Sharp as switchblades.
Scan me. But Vicky's not the type to go quiet. Watch your six. She was right. That afternoon, as I sketched revisions for a client's bungalow in my shoebox office, the door rattled with a knock that echoed like thunder. Harlan, flanked by two goons who screamed private security. Langford sends her regards, he drawled. All drawl and no draw. Stay away. Or next time it's not just a boot out the door. I stood slowly, tape measure in hand like a makeshift shank. Tell Vicky the truth has a long memory. And mine's photographic. He laughed. A bark that didn't reach his eyes. Truth? You're a joke. Marley. Elena's moved on. We're engaged. The word landed like a gut punch. But I kept my face neutral, channeling every poker face I'd learned in lockup. Engaged. To the golden boy who'd never dirty his hands. Congrats. Hope the prenup covers skeletons in the closet. They left without further ado. But the threat lingered like smoke. That night, I holed up in a motel on the outskirts. The kind with vibrating beds and Bibles in the drawers. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of the river churning with Ruiz's face morphing into Elena's. Betrayal's a hell of a drug, addictive, corrosive. But it sharpened the edges, made the world vivid in its ugliness. By dawn, I had a plan. Not some movie vigilante bullshit. Real revenge, surgical, documented, aimed at the heart of their empire. First stop, the Chattanooga courthouse. I'd driven the 4 hours in silence, radio off, mind replaying Vicky's toast. To family,
Yeah. Right.
the clerk, a harried woman with a perm from the 80s, handed over the public records on Ruiz's case, sealed. But not to a man with a FOIA request and a grudge. Pages yellowed with age. Autopsy report listing accidental drowning, but the water in his lungs didn't match the river's depth. Bruises on the wrists, consistent with restraints. And there, buried in the addendum, a witness statement from Elena Langford, age 22, claiming she'd been at a sorority event that night. Cross-referenced with her credit card, a gas station 5 miles from the dock. I photocopied it all, the machine whirring like my pulse. Back in Nashville, Lila met me at a dive bar off Broadway, the walls vibrating with live bluegrass. "This is dynamite," she said, flipping through. "But lighting the fuse means blowback." "Vicky's got judges in her pocket," I nodded, sipping flat beer. "That's why it's not just about her. It's Elena." She flipped on me once. Time she chooses. The call came at midnight, Elena's voice cracking through the line. "Marley, meet me. Tomorrow." The old spot. Our spot, the overlook where we'd said vows under a blood moon. I agreed, hanging up with a calm that belied the storm. Was it a trap?
Probably.
A lifeline? Maybe. Either way, it was my move. Sunset painted the ridges gold as I pulled up, the gravel lot empty save for her Audi. She leaned against the hood, cigarette between fingers, a habit she'd kicked for me, apparently resurrected. "You look like hell," she said by way of greeting. Up close, the cracks showed, dark circles, a tremor in her hand. "Engagement gift from Harlan?" She exhaled smoke, eyes on the valley below. "It's not what you think, lies. Always starting there." I leaned beside her, arms crossed. "Then enlighten me. Why testify against your husband for a crime you knew I didn't commit?" Her laugh was bitter, wind-whipped. "Because Mama said it was the only way to save the family."
And you?
"You were collateral." Collateral. The word hung, heavy as the humid air. She flicked the butt over the edge, sparks trailing like falling stars in reverse. "Tomas Ruiz," she said finally, the name tasting foreign on her tongue.
He wasn't just some activist. He was involved.
With me. The confession landed softer than a slap, but it stung deeper.
Involved.
My mind reeled, flashing to our early days. Elena, vibrant and untamed, sneaking away from sorority mixers to meet me in dive bars, whispering dreams of escaping the Langford shadow.
How?
I managed, voice rough as the gorge wind. College fling.
Stupid. Passionate.
He thought he could change the world. I thought I could change him. Her profile sharpened against the dying light, jaw set like she'd rehearsed this in mirrors. When he started pushing back on Mama's project, petitions, protests, she found out. Threatened to cut me off. Expose us. I begged him to back down. He wouldn't. The river snaked below, innocent now in twilight. But I saw it, dark water swallowing secrets. So she, Elena, turned, eyes wet but defiant. She handled it. I didn't know the plan. Marley. Not until the bag hit the water. Her voice fractured, and, for a split second, I saw the girl I'd married, the one who'd cried at rom-coms and burned pancakes with love. I held the light because she made me. Said it was loyalty. Family. Loyalty. The Langford Creed. Twisted into a noose. I pushed off the car, pacing the overlook's edge, gravel biting through my soles.
And me?
You let me rot for it. Sign the affidavits. Perjured yourself in court. She followed, grabbing my sleeve. You were strong. You could take it. Mama promised it'd be light. Probation. Maybe. But the feds. They smelled blood. Excuses. Layered like the sedimentary rock under our feet. But beneath the rage, a sliver of pity. Vicky's puppet. Strings pulled from cradle to grave. Why now? I demanded, whirling. Why spill after I crashed the party? Her laugh was hollow. Because you're unraveling it. Harlan's daddy is sniffing around the books, divorce settlement audits. If it goes south, Mama takes us all down.
Us.
Still including me. After everything. Help me stop it, she pleaded. Testify with me. Immunity for both. We expose her. Start over. You and me. The offer dangled. Seductive as sin. A second chance, wrapped in redemption's bow. But trust? Shattered like the taillight on my truck from that gravel lot brawl. And, Tomas, I pressed. Justice for him? She flinched. He was a mistake. But you're not. Wrong answer. I stepped back. The chasm yawning between us. I was your mistake too. Elena. The one you buried alive. She reached again. Desperate. Marley?
Please.
I love. Headlights pierced the dusk, sweeping the lot like search beams. Harlan's black Tahoe, rumbling to a stop. He piled out, fury etched in his 5 o'clock shadow. Get in the car. Elena.
Now.
She hesitated, eyes pleading one last time. I nodded toward the Audi.
Go.
But know this. The truth's coming. With or without you. As she drove off in his wake, taillights fading into the hollows, I stood alone, the wind whispering Ruiz's name. Back in Nashville, the apartment felt smaller, walls closing like a vice. Lila called at 2 a.m., voice urgent. Langfords are lawyering up. Cease and desist incoming. And get this, Harlan's firm represents the cartel ties, subtle. But there.
Cartel.
The missing piece. Vicky's developments weren't just laundering, they were gateways, safe houses, drop points disguised as gated communities. Sleep evaded me. So I worked, cross-referencing deeds, tracing shell companies to Mexican P.O. boxes. By dawn, a map emerged, Langford fingerprints on a dozen accidents from Memphis to Mobile. Ruiz was the tip, others followed. A whistleblower suicided in a Birmingham motel. A rival developer vanished en route to Knoxville. Elena's involvement with Tomas? The spark that ignited Vicky's scorched earth policy. And me? The perfect scapegoat, new blood. No roots. Easy to frame with forged emails I'd sent from a burner IP. The cease and desist arrived via courier at 10 a.m., a sheath of legalese thicker than my prison Bible. Defamation. Harassment. Potential incarceration. Vicky's signature flourish at the bottom.
A taunt in ink.
I laughed, the sound echoing off my bare walls. Incarceration? Been there. Bought the shank. Instead, I drafted my response, a press packet to the Tennessean, Nashville scene, even that podunk Chattanooga Times Free Press. Blur docs. Ruiz's photo. Elena's statement. Enough to light the fuse without torching myself. Yet. That evening, the unexpected knock came again. Not Harlan's goons, but Elena. Solo. Rain-soaked and shivering on my stoop. Let me in, Marley. It's pouring. I did. Against every instinct. Handing her a threadbare towel. She dripped onto the linoleum, eyes haunted. Mama knows about Tomas. Confronted me after the overlook. Says if I flip, she'll bury us both.
Us.
Again. I brewed coffee. Bloskas my muet, sliding a mug her way. Then flip anyway. Or are you still her good girl? She sipped, scalding her tongue, wincing. I was never good. Just scared. The floodgates cracked then, stories spilling like bourbon from a tipped bottle. Vicky's rages. The lessons doled out with belts and boarding schools. Elena's rebellion. The affair with Ruiz. A middle finger to the dynasty. He saw me. Marley. Not the heiress. When Mama took him, I broke. And me, the rebound, the fixer-upper she'd molded into a husband, then sacrificed on the altar of legacy. Pity curdled into something sharper. You chose her over him. Over me. She set the mug down, hands trembling. I choose you now. Help me end it. Her fingers brushed mine. Electric. Familiar. For a heartbeat, the old fire flickered, nights tangled in sheets. Her laughter echoing in our first apartment off Belmont. But betrayal's scar tissue ran deep. I pulled away. Too late for us. But not for justice. We talked till the storm broke. Plotting in whispers, her insider access to Vicky's safe. Digital ledgers encrypted on a thumb drive. Steal it during the engagement party, she urged. Harlan's yacht. Next weekend. Mama's codes are child's play. Risky. But the payoff? A digital trail leading straight to Vicky's cartel cronies. Irrefutable. Prosecutable. I agreed, sealing it with a nod, not a kiss. As she left, dawn creeping in, she paused at the door. I never stopped loving you. The words hung, ambiguous as a plea bargain. The week blurred into reconnaissance. Lila tailed Harlan's comings and goings, yacht docked at Percy Priest Lake, stocked with enough champagne to float the Titanic. I cased the marina under cover of a fishing charter, noting security cams, guard rotations. Vicky's empire hummed oblivious, billboards touting Langford luxe living, her face beaming from society pages. But cracks spiderwebbed, anonymous tips to the feds. My press packet seeding doubt in newsrooms. Engagement eve.
Elena texted coordinates.
A burner phone's ghost signal. I suited up again, same charcoal. Now tailored by spite, slipping aboard as catering staff, badge swiped from a dumpster dive. The yacht gleamed under string lights. Laughter drifting over the water like pollution. Vicky held court on the aft deck. Harlan's ring glinting on Elena's finger like a shackle. I ghosted through the galley, heart hammering, until she slipped me the drive in a napkin fold. Hurry, she breathed. Mama's suspicious. Data dump at Lila's safe house confirmed it. Ledgers detailing bribes. Hits subcontracted to sicarios crossing the border. Ruiz is drowning coded as site clearance expense. My hands shook as I copied files to the cloud. Anonymized for the DA. But as I surfaced, alarms blared, motion sensors tripped. Harlan's voice boomed. Intruders in the hold. Footsteps thundered. I bolted for the rail. Drive clutched like a grenade. Vicky appeared, silhouette against the moon.
Marley.
Predictable. No shock. Just cold calculation. Elena emerged behind her, face ashen. Run, she mouthed. But Harlan lunged, tackling me to the deck. Fists flew, his polished knuckles versus my prison-honed elbows. A crack. His nose blooming red. But guards swarmed, zip-tying my wrists. Vicky knelt, breath minty with victory. You think this ends me? You're the criminal here. Dragged to the cabin. Phone confiscated. I spat blood and grinned. Check your emails. Victoria. It's already out. Her eyes flickered doubt. Then fury. Elena hovered.
Torn.
Mama. Let him go. It's over. Vicky whirled. Over? He's poison. The slap echoed. Elena's cheek flaming. In that moment, the flip, daughter against dam. Blood against legacy. Cops arrived at dawn. Sirens slicing the lake mist, not for me, but for Vicky. Feds and windbreakers. Badges flashing. My press packet had hit. Tips corroborated. Harlan blustered. Lawyered up. But Elena stepped forward. Drive in hand. I have proof. Vicky's empire cracked. Arrests rippling from Nashville to the border. But revenge? It twisted in my gut as they cuffed her. Vicky's glare promising hell. You'll regret this.
Boy.
Elena turned to me. Free but fractured. We did it.
We.
The word chafed. The hearings dragged like a chain gang through summer into fall, leaves turning crimson as the evidence mounted. Vicky's arraignment was a circus. TV crews swarming the federal courthouse in downtown Nashville. Protesters chanting for justice outside. Ruiz's family, flown in from L.A., holding faded photos like talismans. I testified second day. Voice steady under fluorescent glare. Laying out the frame job in architect's precision. Timelines. Falsified docs. Elena's coerced perjury. The prosecutor, a bulldog named Hargrove from the Southern District, nodded along, his mustache twitching like a divining rod for bullshit. Elena took the stand after me, immunity shield gleaming. Her testimony gutted the room. Details of the river night. Vicky's barked orders. The splash that haunted her dreams. I was 22. Terrified. Mama said it was business. Gasps from the gallery. Vicky's lawyer objecting furiously. But the drive's ledger sealed it. Millions funneled. Hits greenlit like zoning approvals. Harlan flipped next. Squealing for a deal. His frat boy charm curdling into rat desperation. Cartel whispers turned to roars. Indictment snowballed. Vicky? Unbreakable facade. She glared through it all. Pearls choking her neck like a noose. Cross-exam. Her lawyer painted her the victim. A grieving widow. Targeted by a vengeful ex-son-in-law.
Me.
The villain redux. Jurors shifted. Some nodding. Old biases die hard in Bible Belt courtrooms. Was I the hero? Dragging skeletons to light? Or the obsessed stalker? Dismantling a dynasty for spite? Elena's eyes met mine across the aisle during recess. Conflicted, gratitude laced with loss. Nights blurred into stakeouts of my own conscience. Lila kept watch. Her apartment a war room of takeout boxes and legal pads. You're clear?
Haze.
Probation holds.
But sleep?
Riddled with what-ifs. What if Elena's love was just survival? What if Ruiz's ghost demanded more than cuffs? The media frenzy polarized. Op-eds in the Tennessean hailed me, whistleblower of the year. Fox affiliate spun, family feud turns deadly. Online. Forums erupted, justice for Ruiz versus Free Vicky. Armchair juries splitting hairs on loyalty versus law. Climax hit mid-trial. Recess in the courthouse basement. I'd stepped out for air, the marble halls echoing with ghosts, when Vicky cornered me, unescorted. A clerical slip her lawyer exploited. You think you've won, she hissed. Close enough for Chanel, no. 5 to choke me. Frail and orange, but eyes like flint. Elena's mine. Always will be. I laughed.
Low.
She's testifying against you. That's checkmate. Her smile slithered. Is it? Ask her about the baby. The word detonated. Time fracturing. Baby? Our one miscarriage. Year 3, blamed on stress. Buried in grief. Vicky leaned in. Venom dripping. The one before you. Tomas's. I made her choose. Him or the family. She chose right. Lies? Truth? My world tilted. The basement spinning. Elena. Pregnant at 21. Forced to.
What?
The splash echoed anew, not just Ruiz, but possibility drowned. I confronted her that night. Post-court. In a Waffle House off Demonbrunn neutral ground. Grease and fluorescence stripping illusions. Tell me, I demanded. Hash browns congealing untouched. Her fork paused. Color draining. Mama's desperate. Don't listen. But her eyes betrayed flinch, then flood. It was early. I didn't know. Not really. When Tomas. After. I couldn't. Couldn't what? Terminate? Miscarry from shock? The details blurred in sobs. But the core, Vicky's ultimatum. Elena's silence. A life erased before breath. Rage boiled. Not at her, but the puppeteer. You let me believe it was us against the world. Built our life on that grave. She reached across the formica, tears splashing like rain. I wanted to tell you. After the wedding, 100 times. But Mama. She owns the narrative.
Owned.
Past tense. As the trial ground on. But the revelation polarized me. Forgive the broken girl. Or condemn the accomplice. Readers, hell. The jury would debate the same. Was Elena victim or villainous? Her flips a dance of survival or seduction. Verdict day dawned crisp. October wind stripping the magnolias bare. Court packed. Ruiz's widow in the front row. Clutching rosaries. Langford loyalists in pearls. Whispering prayers. Judge's gavel fell like judgment. Vicky guilty on all counts, conspiracy, racketeering, manslaughter elevated to murder too. Life. No parole. Her face crumpled then, not in defeat, but animal snarl, lunging at the bar toward Elena. Traitor, you'll burn for this. Bailiffs swarmed, but the damage etched, mother-daughter fracture. Irreversible. Outside. Chaos, Mike's thrust. Flashes blinding. Elena clung to my arm, a lifeline in scrum. It's over. But was it? Harlan, plea bargain to 5 years, slunk away with tail tucked. The cartel? Fed's problem now. Indictments cascading south.
Me?
Cleared of all taints. Architecture firm offers trickling in. Irony's bitter pill. We drove to the overlook that night. Full circle. Moon fat and forgiving. What now? She asked. Voice small against the void. I stared at the river. Silvered and serene. You choose. Really this time. Her hand in mine.
Tentative. You.
If you'll have me. The twist. I walked away. Not from hate, but clarity. Revenge had unearthed the bones. But love, it drowned in the current. Heal first, I said, kissing her forehead like a benediction. Then maybe. She nodded. Tears carving tracks. I left her there, taillights fading into possibility. Back in Nashville. The apartment sold, new start, blueprints for a firm of my own, specializing in ethical builds. No more Langford shadows. But the debate lingers. Did I avenge Ruiz? Or just shatter a flawed family? Hero or homewrecker? Vicky rots in Victorville. Elena rebuilds in therapy haze. Me? I fish the Cumberland weekends, watching the water for ghosts. Sometimes, they whisper back, no one's clean, but truth floats eventual. And on her birthday next year, I'll send a card. To new beginnings. Or maybe nothing. The river decides.